Hi and welcome to Edge of Play's New Coach Starter Pack Chapter 6 Part 2. In Part 2 we're looking at performance, the actual match day, how you put your planning into action. First of all, consider management. This was done in Part 1, but the W's really, who, what, why, where and when, making sure that everyone knows all the key details for the match. The warm-up, I mentioned this in Part 1, but really important part of the game. How do you get your players physically and mentally prepared for that match? You might try and do a warm-up that links to the main focus you had for the game. Just getting a small-sided game going, replicates so much of the bigger version of the game they'll be doing. So it could be 3v3, 4v4, even just do little 2v2s. Just get them playing. So not just mentally and physically either. Getting that ball at their feet means they're technically warmed up as well. So often over the years I've found that if the players aren't at it in the warm-up, that's then reflected in the game as well. So a big challenge for the coach is how do you G the players up and get them kind of buzzing and excited, talking, doing all the things you want to do in the main game in that warm-up. A big part for the coach though on match day are those interventions during the game, and they'll vary for different coaches. If you're coaching the under-7s, that'll be very different to the interventions of an open age coach, for example. This will be just something you'll learn as you go along, what kind of interventions work for you and the team. I'd say the younger the players are, the less interventions. For younger players especially, they need to be able to learn from their mistakes to a certain extent, and if you're continually intervening, you're not letting them think for themselves, and then when you take away your influence as the players get older, they'll struggle to solve problems themselves. So it's difficult and it can be frustrating, you have to be quite patient, but at times you have to kind of not intervene in the game. Let the players kind of try and solve it themselves. Now if they still can't solve it and they're still struggling, then you might intervene and give that player some support. But as far as you can, just patience in those interventions. Try and let the players solve some of the issues themselves. Now as the players get older and it swings from being more about their development to you getting results, which it may well be the case, it certainly is for me at open age level. If you feel you have to step in to get a player in the right position before the team concede and it affects us all, then you will do. But I'd say with younger players, when their development is hopefully a bit higher on the priorities list than the result, then let them make those mistakes if they need to. As long as they're trying to solve it, choose those right moments to intervene and help out. I'd say as well, really think about the nature of those interventions. Are you just giving someone all the answers with that intervention, or are you making them think? And that's that guided learning thing. You could be shouting out to a player like, Tommy, do you think that's a good position to be in right now? And if they adjust their positioning, oh, well done, brilliant, well done. And just that kind of little communication, just to get them thinking themselves, can really help. Remember, these players will be under a bit of pressure. They feel you're watching, they feel their parents are maybe watching from the side, their peers are all around them, and they're feeling a bit nervous. So it might just sometimes be you guiding them towards that thing you want to get from them. If you've put in your planning that keeping possession is really important for the team, then your interventions might link to that target throughout the game as well. Some coaches will say next to nothing throughout the game. They'll let the players do it all themselves, and they'll use their halftime team talk and their aftermatch team talk to try and address any issues. They might even be making notes during the game so they don't forget those things to discuss with the players. Because you are the coach of the team, people will be very aware of your communications throughout the game. So the parents, the players, the opponents, the referee, there will be a lot of awareness of what you're saying. So I do think you have to give it a bit of thought early on. What information is coming out from you to the team and that everyone can hear? What kind of example are you showing to everyone else? And linked into the interventions are the club codes of conduct as well. So think about that from the point of view of you and the other coaches. What's expected of you with your communication? In terms of the parents of the players, I would think you want in your code of conduct that you don't want them intervening in the game and confusing things. If there's any interventions, they should be coming from you as a coach. If parents are then chipping in as well, saying like push out, move up, and you've been telling the players to sit deep or whatever it is, if there's a conflict there, it just confuses the players so much they then stop listening altogether. You can see Pep there in the picture giving his team talk to the players. Well, your team talk is your opportunity to get across before the game begins the key information, the key way you want your players to approach the game. So I've shown you this already in the planning stage, but just to quickly show you again, you've got your players, the advice you might give them individually. This could be done one-to-one, or it could be done in the main team talk if you feel like it's a point that you want all the players to be aware of. Another thing I'd suggest as well is having something visual for the players in the changing rooms when they're getting ready for the game, just so they can see the formation and where they sit in that. The players will get a bit of a kick of seeing their name on the sheet there, just like when they're watching the professional game on TV. And you might even go a step further as well and have the key movements you want from your players. So this is something you can do as well, just to give the players a bit more information. And then your key instructions for the team as well. Like I mentioned in the planning stage, don't give it too much. If you give the players so much information before a game when they're a bit jittery, they're nervous for the game ahead, it's just going to go over them. They're not going to take it in. Try and keep it quite precise, quite clear, and repeat those key points instead of giving them loads and loads of things to remember. When I'm doing my team talk, I do have my planning sheet in my hand, but I choose at that moment what I feel I need to say to the players. And sometimes I'll have written something down which is helpful for me to know about, but I feel, no, looking at the time it is, looking at the way the players are, how much I've said already, I'm not going to say that one now. I'll have a little quiet word with that player one-to-one on that. So don't feel you have to say everything to the players. You want to get them in, get your key points across, make sure they're clear on things. If they're clear on things, it takes away some of the anxiety about the game. Just don't overface them with information, I would say. In another chapter on the course, we'll also be looking at player profiles, so it could be as well that the advice you're giving to players links to their specific targets, but don't worry about that just now. I want you to think then it gets to half time and you're talking to the players. You might feel that there's 5 or 6 things that have happened in that first half that you want to address with the players. But if you put all that in there, are you giving yourself time to get across the key points that you gave them at the start of the game and kind of reflect on how they're working towards those outcomes you wanted? So the players are aware that throughout the game, the players are working towards those focused targets. Half time, you might only get 5 minutes to get across your key points. Even having your plan sheet there at half time, so as the players are coming over for the team talk, you can quickly look at it, remind yourself, what were the key points I said before the game, before my mind got cluttered with everything that's just happened in that first half an hour or so. However, there may be something from that first half that is added to, and try and keep it to maybe one thing really. Is there anything else that's come up during that first half you want the players to work on and address? The players will log this. They'll be aware that you're kind of coming back to things you've talked to them about, and it's not just all you throwing loads of information out. It's specialised, individualised as well. And then in terms of your post-game team talk, it's similar really. You want to kind of, do a nod to the context of the game and what happened, but try and revisit those team instructions you gave before the game. Can you kind of reflect on how they went? You might say, the communication was really positive, well done. You were really brave and patient in possession, but we need to work a bit better at possession still, guys. So let's try and work on that at training, or we've got that come up in a few weeks at training. Let's try and get that right next week in the match then. And that means that your next team talk, the players know you're going to keep revisiting those points you say in the team talk. They know they'll be important. Some general points then I'd say, try to be measured in your comments. Recognise that the emotion of the game will have an effect on you, the players, the parents. Everyone's quite het up, their emotions are high, their adrenaline's flowing, and sometimes it's not the best time to get certain points across. Certain points it totally is. Everyone's in that mindset and you can really address things, but just try and measure that. I find it's the walk from the pitch to the changing rooms, if you have the changing rooms to go to, is that time for reflection, just to think it through, breathe. Just think over the game before you go in there and rant about something that's really wound you up. Breathe, think it through. What's the best way to get this point across? Now, I'm not saying don't be emotional. People feed off the emotion. It's great, passion, fantastic. Just think it through if you can. Give it a little moment, especially with youngsters. Now, with open age, I find sometimes it's the gut feeling of what I should do at that moment. That works for me, it works for the players. You might sense, listen, I need to raise my voice, I'm frustrated, I need to get this across. I need to let them know that's not acceptable. Or it can be the other thing, I need to let them know how great that was today. And that can really work. With kids though, they're really looking to you to see how you deal with your emotions and how you get that across. So you might be annoyed about something, but how do you communicate that? How do you want them to behave when they are annoyed about something? You may come off thinking, we were awful today at this certain thing, I'm going to go and tell the players. But then you look at your pre-match sheet and it might be that was not even addressed in that. So you could look at it and go, well, I wasn't asking the players to focus on that today, so I'm going to mention it, but I'm also got to remind myself that they actually did 2 out of the 3 things I asked them to today. And And reflecting on the performance is also yours as well. Now, you don't have to reflect on your performance to the players if you don't feel that you should, but it could be something like, oh, I felt like I was intervening too much today, guys. I should have let you solve some of those problems yourself. Occasionally showing that, people can respect that a lot because they can see that you can kind of adjust yourself as well. You don't feel it's a sign of weakness to kind of show that there's things you can do to improve as well. You doing that shows the players it's not a weakness for them to acknowledge that there could be something they could do better next time. But I'd say on the whole, the main part of reflecting on your performance comes afterwards, away from the game, which we'll do in part 3. And I think crucially, match days are what we prepare for all week, and it's important you enjoy them. You know, if you're coming to every game and it's just a big stress and you're frustrated and you come away not happy with things, you know, why are we doing this? And sometimes you have to allow yourself to enjoy it. You have to remind yourself why we're here. You know, if they're younger players, it's not mainly about the results, it's about development, enjoyment. The results can come later on. You know, as they get older, the results will take a bigger focus and it'll be harder to just have as much out and out enjoyment then week by week. It'll become more about how did we do today, did I enjoy it? So it really is a big responsibility. Can you enjoy that experience? Can you show them that match day, yes, it's a bit nerve-wracking, but nerves can be good. Yes, your adrenaline's flowing, that can be good too. And no matter how the result goes in that game, can you show that it's possible to enjoy your football? You know, you're giving up part of your weekend, time away from some of your family maybe, time away from doing other things. You need to enjoy that time and make it valuable. I would add as well that as players are leaving after the match, that you hopefully have managed to let them go away with something to think about, something that's gone well, something to work on. So by the time they come into training, those things are in their minds that, oh, I need to work on using my other foot more, so I'll try and get that right at training. So you don't just go away going, oh, what was the score? They go away thinking about a target and something that they're doing really well at the moment as well. That's part 2. I hope you found that useful. In part 3, we'll look at how you reflect on the game once you get home or the next day, how you reflect back on the players' performances, and also you as a coach as well.